Today we are talking about Guardian's Blessing in solo lane. This topic was proposed by Brain and I think it's actually a very interesting one because it has given the solo lane a shift in a very different direction from what it was before. Before we get started with the topic, I have some things to announce, some things to say regarding my videos at the moment and stuff. That's at the end of the video. If you want to skip there, if this topic is not relevant for you, feel free to do that. And if you're interested in the topic, we'll go on right here. So Guardian's Blessing has been prominent in the solo lane for quite a while now. Final Case started talking about this topic in May already and actually made a very interesting video on it back then, which I will link down below. And since then, Warrior's Blessing has been tuned a bit towards the negative, rather been nerfed, and Guardian's Blessing has stayed the same, and that really benefits certain guards in solo lane at the moment. So how did this come to pass and what are the results? Well, first of all, I think we should look at Guardian's Blessing and Warrior's Blessing respectively, because those are the items that are used or were used in solo rather. Warrior's Blessing was meant to be the solo lane item for warriors, and it was treated as such, it was used as such. It was used by most warriors early in the season when there was a higher aggression lane play to at least some degree, then Warrior's Blessing was always involved. Hires thought that Warrior's Blessing was a bit too strong at some point and nerfed it, and that left us more options to go into Guardian's Blessing. Now, in order to see how this could happen, let's look at the stats of the items. Guardian's Blessing has 100 health, Warrior's Blessing has 75. A little bit less here, though it's not a dramatic difference. Guardian's Blessing also comes with 5 physic protection and 5 magical protection, whereas Warrior's Blessing comes with 3 damage reduction to any kind of damage. This can be better or worse depending on the matchup. Generally, I would prefer 3 damage reduction against anything really, but 5 protection can also be very nice. The difference in most cases here isn't insane and neither item is really bought for the relatively small protection stats that it has at base at least. Then the additional stats that Warrior's Blessing gets puts it at a bit higher protection because it gives another 10 physical and magic protection plus the damage reduction that it has, which Guardian's Blessing doesn't offer. In terms of other benefits, they both bring sustain. In Warrior's Blessing's case, this is 30 health and mana restored upon damaging an enemy guard with a 10-second cooldown. That means in 30 seconds, you can heal up to 90 HP and 90 mana if you are super aggressive and hit the enemy every 10 seconds straight on cooldown basically. Guardian's Blessing on the other hand comes with 7 HP and mana restore per lane minion assisted. That means that in an ideal case where you only get assists, you would get 52 HP and mana restore every 30 seconds for the minions. So roughly 40 less of each here, but at the same time you also get plus 5 MP5. And that is an additional 30 mana in 30 seconds. So effectively the difference in mana between Guardian's Blessing and Warrior's Blessing is 8 if you play super aggressive with Warrior's Blessing and literally hit it every 10 seconds, which is a lot harder to achieve than just not killing any minions yourself, to be honest. So in terms of early game survivability, I would say Warrior's Blessing gets ahead a little bit, but only if you can play aggressive enough for that. If you, for example, have a guard that doesn't really have much long-range poke on a short cooldown and the enemy just hides under tower, then you're gonna have a problem even trying to stack your Warrior's Blessing or proc it rather, and in that moment the sustain also automatically lowers. This isn't the case for every guard, like a Sun Wukong wouldn't care about this, but depending on which guard you are playing, this might be a risk. Or if you have to go under the enemy tower so deep that you actually take tower aggro for one shot, then it's not even worth doing the poke at that point. And that is something that Guardian's Blessing can also kind of abuse, because if you have Guardian's Blessing, there is not much of an issue with you just standing under your tower. And that is because the function of Guardian's Blessing is something entirely different, and that's related to the other passive, being the extra gold. Not only do you get 3 extra gold per minion assisted, you also get plus 4 gold every 5 seconds once the item is evolved. That means you get an extra 48 gold per minute. In other words, 480 gold every 10 minutes, or rounded 500. You won't have full stacks of Guardian's Blessing at the start of the game, and how long it takes is really dependent on how many last hits you do or how many minions you still clear yourself anyways, but you can get it very early. Let's say you have it by the 10-minute mark, which is rather late actually in most situations, you would still get at least 1000 extra gold until minute 30, which is how long most games will go. Many games even go longer than that, and the longer it goes, the more beneficial it becomes as long as you keep the item. And that's not factoring in the extra gold that you get per minion, being an extra 3 gold every single time. That, if you don't last hit anything, means an extra 3 times 6 gold per 30 seconds, so 18 gold, meaning 36 gold per minute or 360 gold every 10 minutes, bringing us to a total of 740 gold every 10 minutes. So if the game stays even and you simply pay passive, you will be roughly a tier 2 item ahead of your lane opponent by the 30th minute. Not exactly always, but roughly around that. And you can see how much of that advantage that can be at later stages. A full item ahead of an enemy is crazy, but even half an item ahead can do so much at pretty much any stage of the game. Now, who would you want this item on? Basically, any guard that doesn't have too much early aggression, but does a lot in later stages of the game and benefits from being ahead in items at that point, just being farmed enough and roll into team fights with a lot of the build done. And those guards are, ironically, as the name of the blessing would say, a lot of the guardians. They are not all designed for late game impact, but many of the ones that are played in solo are. And to name the most popular guards that are played in the SPL at the moment at Worlds, with Guardian's Blessing, we have Sobek, Terra, Cerberus, Athena, Samdi, Artio, and Chang'e, and pretty much all of them utilize Guardian's Blessing. There are a few other guards that have seen some use, for example Fenrir with Lifesteal, Sun Wukong with Mage's Blessing, or the Morrigan, but that's just rare niche picks compared to the complete array of Guardians and Mages that we see that are just there for late game farming. Even more aggressive solo lane picks are Guardians like, for example, Ares. What I find a bit unfortunate is the playstyle that Guardian's Blessing teaches you. I'm honestly still not used to it at this point because I'm so focused on the mindset of last hitting minions, and Guardian's Blessing wants you to do the opposite. It wants you to not last hit the minions, but rather have as many minions as possible killed by your minions or even your tower in early game in order to get your passive stacks up quicker and to get your sustain that way. You can pretty much, especially if you're someone like Sobek, hang at your tower for the entire earlier stages of the game and just try to hold the minions like slightly outside of the tower, tank the waves there, try and get your minions there so that they can kill them and you just get an assist, and do that over and over and over and over. And again, if some minions sink into tower, it's not that much of an issue for you either because Guardian's Blessing's passive still works just the same. So what is the enemy even supposed to do at that point? They can try to hard aggress on your tower and they will probably get punished for it because you're still very survivable, especially because the Guardian's Blessing has some survivability stats too. And some of these guards also have really good punishes when you get too close, like Sobek, like Cerberus, like Samdi. They all can kind of really throw you under their tower even more in order for you to take more damage once you aggress on them. Berserker's Shield kind of worked against this for a little bit because guards could really stomp with that, but not even that is effective enough now that it had a little bit of a nerf, and that strategy doesn't really play out on competitive the same way anyways. So you're gonna end up just seeing everyone else kind of opting into Guardian's Blessing as well most of the time, unless they're looking for early hyper aggression with rotations and they're against a guard that doesn't sustain well enough to really not be forced back to base quite often. And that brings us to the second part that kind of comes with Guardian's Blessing, being teleport suddenly being a lot more prominent again. It was still picked beforehand, but not nearly as much as it used to be, and now it's back all the way. Because with this passive playstyle, you might find yourself backing in between just because there's not much else to do anyways, and you just pick up your item and go back to lane. That also means that almost no one can get bullied out. If you have Guardian's Blessing for a decent amount of sustain no matter what you do, and then you just chill under your tower, and if you ever take any damage, you just go back to base and teleport back to the lane. Nothing will happen. And that really makes solo lane a very different lane from what it used to be. It used to be about high aggression, it used to be about a lot of trades, and that back and forth was something that I think most solo laners enjoyed. Right now, we don't see much of that, and it's mostly due to the items that simply don't encourage it, and the biggest benefit is really in playing as passive as you can. I kinda hope this meta will be shaken up a little bit afterwards, as I personally don't find it the most interesting one to watch. And that's it for this topic. Now for some quick announcements. As you may have noticed, I haven't uploaded in the past 2 days. If you're following my community tab, then you may have seen it already. I'm at the moment preparing for HRX and I had a lot of things to do in that regard, so I won't be as frequent with my uploads at the moment and even in the next week during HRX, because I'll be quite busy and I hope you can understand that. However, I have some things planned as usual. This time it's going to be a bit different. I'm going to try and make some uploads beforehand, but I'm also going to have my laptop with me and try to make some uploads while at HRX. So as Fallout is coming out while I'm at HRX, my plan at the moment is to release various Fallout videos throughout the next days, a lot of guides, a lot of content like that, just to introduce new players to the game and also maybe to my channel. At the same time, I will try and make Smite content directly from HRX to make the most current content possible, basically, with all the news and everything that I will learn there. So I'm hoping that I will be able to have a good mix of Fallout and Smite content for the time that I'm gone. I can't guarantee it though. It might end up that I won't be able to make any Fallout videos beforehand, and it might end up that I might not be able to make as much content at HRX. If it's one or the other, please don't be concerned that one of them is going to stop. Even if I only have Fallout videos coming out because I won't be able to make content at HRX for whatever reason, there will be Smite content again afterwards. It's just that I can't really plan ahead that much and schedule that much, and I will have to see how things go. I just wanted to clarify that beforehand, and if anyone asks later, you can hopefully quickly answer that for them so they don't get confused. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was interesting and insightful. If you're new to the channel, feel free to sub button and bell, it really helps me out. And other than that, see you for the next one. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, we will have to see. DukeSloth, out.